Today we're going to do a video of all the people you're going to be communicating with when you buy a house. Now before we start, my top tip is going to be this. Put together a folder for your house purchase in your email box and then do subfolders. You're going to do a subfolder for each person you're communicating with, and as you get documents from them, when you sign them, you're always going to keep a copy and you're going to put it in that folder. Long term, if you ever need to look back and go, what was that appraisal or what did that real estate agent say? If you have it organized, your life is going to be a lot easier. Also, if any of those parties say, hey, you never responded to us, if you filed it away, you know you did. So tip number one, let's make a folder for the house and we're going to do subfolders for each party involved. Okay, who first? The real estate agent. So odds are you're using a real estate agent, and if so, you're going to want a special folder just for them and their team. It's not just going to be the real estate agent reaching out to you. It could be their assistant, a transaction coordinator. You're going to get multiple communication and documents to sign. Very important that you're aware of this. With everything we're talking about, timing's important because we're all working to your closing deadline. So if you're not checking your email, if you're like, oh, I'll do it next week, you're not going to close on time. So folder number one is going to be your real estate agent and their team. Folder number two is your mortgage lender and their team. And I say team because sometimes people are like, I just want one person to communicate with me. It's not very realistic, and I'm going to tell you why. So whenever you're doing a mortgage, there's the loan officer, there may be an assistant, and then there's also the processor. The processor is the one that collects all your documents, they correspond with the underwriter, and they're the ones that are ultimately making it so you get to close. In my case, I have two processors. I have a processor for before underwriting and after underwriting. So the odds of it just being one person communicating with you is not great. Earlier in my career, I did that where I would just have the processors tell me and then I would tell the clients. Very ineffective. And I'm going to tell you why. It's the game of telephone. So if a processor is saying they need something specific, you guys want to communicate together. You don't want someone in the middle saying, well, they said they need this. And then you're like, well, but I sent it to them. And I'm like, well, but they said they don't have, like, Put these two together, okay? So you're gonna have that second folder for the mortgage lender and their team. And look, keep a copy of your documents always. So for instance, even if we fully underwrite your file up front, which is what I like to do because it makes this less stressful because we've already done a bunch of the paperwork before you have all these other people on you, you're still gonna get your application package, your disclosures, a copy of the appraisal, the closing disclosure. There's still gonna be documentation and communication. So make sure you're paying attention to that. The next is going to be the title company. So whether you're working with an attorney or an escrow company, you're going to have a title company. Yes, I would do a separate folder for them as well. They're going to be asking specific information to make sure that when title is transferred, that it can be transferred to you without problems. If you have some huge liens or debtors going after you, it could be a problem. So they do back checks to make sure that's not happening. So when title's asking for information, get it to them fast. Okay? They're also going to be asking about how you want to invest in the house. Now, one of the annoying things is sometimes they'll be like, who's your real estate agent? Who's your lender? And you're like, ugh. Sometimes people are like, Jen, can you fill this out? No, and look, they're asking that. It's like, I've already reached out to them, but it's just a generic form. So what you need to know with a lot of this is a lot of times you're gonna be filling out repetitive stuff. And it's because each company has to have their own information that they need from you, and you need to fill it out. We can't fill it out on behalf of each other's. It's actually one of the biggest forms of fraud. That's right. Like buyers get hurt. Sometimes there's people making up stuff on their behalf. So you want to fill out these forms. Okay, who else? Escrow or the attorney. They're going to be reaching out as well. They're going to have questions. They're going to be the ones that are sending you wire instructions if you're wiring money. That's another folder, okay? Now, who else? Homeowners insurance. You're going to need homeowners insurance, and hopefully you're shopping homeowners insurance because just as you should shop, real estate agents, lenders, you want to shop homeowners insurance. You want to keep this all together. You don't want to be going through 172 emails going, oh, I think this one offered this and this one offered this. I don't know if that one got back to me. You want to organize it. Also, once you select a provider, the lender's going to need that information. That provider is going to have additional questions for you, and you don't want to get all the way to the finish line and then answer their questions and your premium goes up. I've seen it. I've seen quotes that are real low, and then people just ignore the insurance company. Then they finally give them the information they need, and suddenly the quotes double. And we're at the end scrambling to try to make sure that the debt to income and everything works and the client's comfortable with the payment. Whereas had they given that information to the insurance up front, they could have just ditched them and gone with someone else or had a better plan. Okay, very important. Who else? Okay, here's the last one I think you should really be worried about. Inspections. I would totally have a folder just for inspections. You're going to get bills. You want to make sure you pay them. But most importantly, you want to make sure you keep a copy of all the inspections. Keeping them in an email folder is a great way to have them for the long run. Also, you need to review your inspections. So make sure you're reviewing them. If you have questions, reach out to the inspector. Title, just to circle back real quick, they're going to send you a title report. You're totally not going to understand it. It's a foreign language, but you can always chat with them and say, hey, is there anything I should be concerned about? Or I saw this, is this a problem? So the key is this: when you're buying a house, there's multiple parties involved, and it can be so overwhelming. But the trick is to be as organized as possible, be prepared to do repetitive things, but make sure you're communicating directly with the person who's asking you for something. If anything ever feels weird, like if the real estate assistant was asking you for something and it felt weird, ask the real estate agent. If the real estate agent's asking for something weird, ask the mortgage lender. We're all happy to say like, or yeah, that sounds normal, don't worry about it. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope it helps you organize for buying your first home, and I hope this first-time home buyer tips and advice has been helpful. Thanks for watching.